Gareth.
Right.
Yes. Families, families.
Yeah. Did you watch the Alex Zek Way Forward last night with Richard Massey and Family Constellations?
I got through most of it.
That is a wonderful man.
I haven't finished the rest of it though, but yeah, I sent Anna a link to it as well. Yeah,
I,
brilliant. Fantastic.
any uh, any man who cries when he talks is okay in my book.
Yeah. 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 I mean, you live through the shift in energy that those constellations bring. It's pretty
Yeah,
powerful stuff.
yeah, yeah,
Witnessing something that hasn't been seen in a system before, and you're a part of that field. It's quite something. So yeah, when you talk about it, you connect to that feeling. I think I've experienced that myself.
yeah.
And the
Well,
thing that blows me, Hmm?
you just did a constellation, right?
Yeah, 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 that's right. Yeah, well, and the thing that blows me away, I mean, there was about, I don't know, 25, maybe 30 people in the room, sort of all in a circle, the facilitator. But it was a weekend, it was part of the course I'm doing where we're learning about family system constellation work, like a few things, but that's one of them. So that's why there were so many people, but it really works. And you might do across the course of the weekend, maybe I can't remember if we did, let's say half a dozen, maybe a bit more than half a dozen, six or eight, something like that. And the interrelationship between the constellations that are done and every single person there
My
is,
God. Well, I told you yeah, Mom and I'm trying to remember what events she attends with me. She and I just came back from Virginia, and Dr. Tom Cowan's New Biology Experience. That's the name of the event, but the clinic, his clinic, which is all the medical things we believe, like Tom Cowan is he doesn't believe in hormones. He doesn't believe in H2O or oxygen or hormone. Like he's right on the page with me. I don't believe in any of it. I think it's utter bullshit made up to sell us their poisons. But anyway, that I'm going on my soapbox. So Mom and I, we don't go to doctors anymore. We don't do any of the diagnostic testing. We do none of it. And so, but Mom's 82 and she just wants not necessarily an insurance, like she wants someone to talk to about things that are happening in her body and ideas, like reminders of what we can do, because they offer like biofield tuning and constellations and body movement and meditation, like all the things we know is what any human body needs, right?
yeah.
So we joined this clinic as a family. And we got a great discount from Alex X The Way Forward. So that was really great. But anyway, we attended this
Mhm.
event, and in the event, one of the sessions you could choose was family constellations. And she was quite lovely. She did a wonderful job. The room, I say room, but it was a hoop house because it was on Joel Salatin's farm in Virginia. So, there are cows up the hill and a farm store, and it's, you know, all these hoop houses, right? Um, which is basically, I didn't know what it was until I got there, but basically a greenhouse. But it's these wire things with,
Oh yeah,
right, with,
yeah,
but not,
yeah,
yeah, yeah, a greenhouse.
yeah.
And the house will
They
wear.
use like plastic often, like over the top,
Yeah, yeah.
hot
So
house kind
the
of thing.
Yeah, yeah, and it's real long, so it's a
Mm,
long hoop house. So
yeah,
anyway,
we
the
do it
family
here as well.
constellations. So a woman came up and did the constellation. I think it was estrangement. with her daughter. Like they love each other. Like nobody's questioning love, but you kind of have to say that because when you think estrangement, sometimes you automatically go to like a big fight and everybody hates each other. But estrangement is just simply that. And so this woman came up, and then she had a gentleman come up to play her, and then the facilitator had another gentleman come up to play a different family, a grandmother, and then a third participant came up to play the daughter. So there were three people playing this part, and they could go out and stand in any direction they wanted to. And every single thing they were doing and saying had palpable results to everyone in the room. Like every single problem
Yeah.
had to do with everyone.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't think, I think half the people who went in there did not know what they were getting themselves into, did not ever hear of family constellations. I mean, I've heard about them for many years now since my awakening, but people came out of there crying. People came out of there going like, what the fuck just happened?
Yes. Totally. Yeah.
And it was like last night, like not I don't know if you're not able to hear. Oh, and then one of the things that came up, because after the session, she welcomed people in the audience participants, whatever, to ask questions or comment or whatever, because they talked about looking over your left is your mother and her family, and looking over your right is your father and his family. And it just so happens, and so many people's parents were passed on, like my dad, right? But my mother was sitting on the left of me, right? And so we're talking about family estrangement and curse breaking for ancestral healing, and my mom's sitting right there next to me, so I raised my hand and I talked to everybody about that. And it was just I said basically what you and I have said many times, is that we are a living, breathing family constellation. I mean, I
Yes.
definitely want to do a real session like you and I have talked about so many times, because we're still our own block. We're still, in our own way. But everyone got a real kick out of that. She was sitting on my left side, and that the problems were they really addressed everyone in the room.
Mm. And it gets things moving for everyone. Like
Yeah,
like you say,
whether they know it or not.
well, a lot of people there don't necessarily know what they've never experienced it before. Like you say, they've never um, kind of like they're not clear. They don't have the words for why they're there in a sense, but they're there for a reason. This is kind of how it works, and it's amazing how the words in the constellation pull it up for each person to a point where they can start moving through their process more consciously. And I've seen that happen time and
Yeah.
time again. And you'll see those people go through a process and come back and do their own constellation. Let's say, I don't know, it could be a month or 3 months or some timeline. But it always, you can't be in an energy field, an information field like that without participating in it. And you can't participate in it without bringing your family system into a process of shifting its perspective, because that's
Hmm.
what it is.
Hmm.
It's like a
Yeah,
domino
yeah.
effect.
And it's so funny too, because we're all kind of in this plasma. So like the system, the field is all one thing. That's
Yeah,
why you can't get away from it, especially if
no,
you're right there in it intentionally. Even if someone else is the one intentionally doing it, you're going to feel it. It's
yes,
like it's like the Way Forward podcast last night. Yeah, that reminds me. The Way Forward podcast last night was with Doc Massey and Alex Zach. And
Mm.
if you
We
didn't
should put a
have
link to that in the chat if we can in the in if we can put a
oh,
link
that's
to
a
that
good
in the Zoom.
idea. That's
Yeah,
a really good idea. We haven't done stuff like that with
yeah.
our uploads yet. We're still like babies to all of this.
Still getting a handle
I
on
mean,
it.
I
Yeah.
still post photos instead of like fancy videos on Instagram. I have no idea what the hell I'm doing. Um, whatever.
That's the
Uh,
great thing about that thing, the interview with Dr. Massey and Alex Zek last night is he didn't know. He went through the exact process I've been describing the whole time. That's what every person on the planet is going through their own version of what he went through.
yeah,
You
yep. So
get where
that's what
you need.
yeah,
Mm.
yeah. When you need it.
You go through the process and you're being brought, we're all being brought through a process of doing what we came to do.
Yeah. We're just,
Yeah.
some of us are conscious of it and riding with it, however messy that looks, and some of us are completely oblivious. But
Yeah.
one of the things, like if you don't have if you like I couldn't hear things you say 4 years ago that I hear today. So if someone stumbled across that and were listening to them, they wouldn't really understand what they were talking about. But it was very powerful for those of us who were watching it. And
Mm.
I was texting with some girlfriends through it all, and they were crying, they were shaking, they had the chills. But one of the practices he talked about was having the chairs and putting your son or your sister or your father into that chair energetically and saying
Yes.
to them what you can't say to them.
Yeah.
And then flipping sides and sitting across and kind of being the dialogue for both of them, for
Yes.
yourself and the one you're speaking to. And Kyle Cease, Mike would remember, Kyle Cease used to do that. He would do it on
Mm.
stage. And then I think he had people come up on stage and do it as well. And it was more powerful than you think. I don't even know if Kyle Cease was aware that he was doing a form of family systems constellation. But everyone on the call last night on the live premiere with Alex Zek were saying, "Oh my gosh, I'm totally gonna get a chair and start talking to people and tell them the shit I need to say to them." And it was really cool. It was really
That's
cool.
it. Yeah. 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 Well, I mean, I remember one thing Tom told me it's important to name it, and
Yes.
he's describing this process that there's like dynamics within us that connect to the family that are all subconscious, and they're patterns of behavior based on managing trauma more than people just living life here now. So we've got to deal with that crap before we can live. And that's what those are the interference do. They put themselves between us and life.
Yeah.
So this trauma runs the family, and everybody's personalities are actually kind of responses, reactions to this need to manage it and to get the imbalance dealt with. So kids will often take that on and embody it in a way that kind of relieves the system of it. But it's so unconscious that you can't see what it is you're fighting. And of course, then the mind
No.
wants to come up with all sorts of ideas about it.
Oh,
So
sure.
that's another layer. We complicate it with all our definitions and reactions and, the victim perpetrator thing about how we've lived and, what other people in the family have demanded of us. It's very obligational and there's a lot of shame and guilt involved in doing all this crap. But when you actually stop that and go, okay, well, I want to see past all of this to the real nature of the problem, and it shows itself, that name, as soon as you name it, it can't exist in the form it was before anymore. It
No.
has to be present within the system as it is to everybody. And that completely changes how everybody has to relate to each other over time.
Well, that's
Nobody has you can't get away with the same pretending,
no, no,
denial anymore because it's
no.
it's it's stopped being denied by someone in the system now at that because it's a field of information. The
Right.
information about the reality, the connection between the reality and someone within consciously connecting, oh, that's why. now the whole system has to refit itself around that new awareness. And you'll see this whole thing play out within your family over the next, quite often, 2 years.
Wow.
And
I
I've
love
seen
you right now.
incredible stuff happen. Yeah, and then of course, like begets like. The as soon as that process starts to release, the healing process starts to kind of operate within the system and expand out. Each person will then connect to that, and it kind of has a knock-on effect. So there are deeper layers, older layers that this now starts to release, which is why a lot of people go through Groundhog Day, in our
Right, like
personal
it feels like it's like, why did I do this? This feels worse than I felt before.
worse.
Well, it has to get worse before it gets better.
Yeah.
Like it's just naturally going to do that. On a way forward call today, it was with Ditte. I can't think of her last name right now. I think it's Ditte Young. She lives in Europe and she's telepathic and an animal communicator. And there was a live Q&A with her today, and they were talking about seizures in animals and
Oh,
how seizures in German New Medicine, seizures are actually the healing arc. It's the
yeah.
healing. Yeah, yeah,
Seizures
yeah.
of the healing
So,
arc.
yeah, yeah. German New Medicine, if you haven't explored it, I don't know. Like everything around our healthcare is just such an utter load of shit. But back to um Groundhog Day. Like
Hmm.
like I've had two really fine, productive, happy days, and I haven't been able to say that in 7 years. And there's this fear of it getting yanked away from me, and this fear of it of waking up again, right? There's this because it's been that way for so long or whatever, you're just like, what is even happening? I thought I was done with this, but no, you're in a spiral.
Exactly. Yeah, that's it. And it's not, we just want to be done with it, but it has to have its way with us because it's layered. It's all there are common themes with the patterns. So there's always a relationship between each layer because when you go back through time, the layer below the layer you've just experienced is responsible for the layer you just experienced.
Exactly.
So of
Yes.
course they
Unless it
relate.
tells
There's
the
a
truth.
feeling tone that's so it does feel like you'll go through a release of stuck energy, which has a feeling tone. The feeling tone isn't based on the reality so much as our belief system about it. So that lens, we filter the experience through a lens that's subconscious. That's why it's so important. It's how you get released, freed of this lens that we filter life through, which is really the problem. Our belief system that puts a layer of definition between us and the reality of the experience we're having. We call it what it isn't instead of what it is. And that's the nature of the trauma within family systems. So you've got to let that feeling go without, and all the mind definitions of it going without that being um, the only definition, if you like. It releases, it's like a healing reaction. It releases the stuck energy. So we experience it like it's real because as it passes through our consciousness, we're just
Yeah.
in it. But because we've got this fifth element, as Tom put it, out of fifth element, spirituality, which is the truth, basically. It's just another way of saying you want to connect with the reality of who you are and where you are and be done with this problem, whatever it is. So that's essentially um, what happens, that fifth element, the question what's really going on represents that. It can't stay stuck anymore, even though the mind wants to keep it. So you have this fight going on, it's ego death. So it's a
Yeah.
struggle. And then that layer will release and you'll have a good day or a good week or epiphanies or these synchronicities will go bang, bang, bang. And you go, oh wow. And of course that part of that voice that wants to be free that comes in and says, great, we're done now. And then of course you get the next layer of release.
Yeah.
And it feels like, oh, this again. And that's one
Oh
of the
God.
things that's been so hard on everybody. However, I think we're at a whole new level
Yeah, I
now.
think so. At least two people, it could be three people, messaged me today telling me there's been a timeline jump. What do you
Sure.
think about that? Yeah, but everyone, like, that's not really common that three people would all say the same
No,
thing.
that's
So,
right.
and like they're feeling things around it. I don't know if healing or grief or I don't know, but like I don't have any sensitivity or awareness of the sensitivity of my response to what is happening. Like, why don't I? They're like, we had a timeline jump. I'm telling you, I knew it. I was tired. I slept for 10 days, like, why
Yeah,
don't
but let
I?
me just point something out here.
Mm,
You just said there are three people who all reported a timeline jump. That's not usual. Like there's something to that. Now, that clarity you have is because you've been around this, directly experiencing this process for a period of time. Whereas you, when you first got in, wouldn't have picked that up the way you just
no,
did.
right.
So there's a calmness, a level of calmness required to receive that in the face of this feeling. That's a
Yeah,
product of the fact there's less of the feeling tone, that this distortion around the family trauma, there's less energy behind it.
right.
So you get this corresponding ability to see, to hold patterns and to see them,
Yeah,
because that takes time. You've got to be able to hold, hang on, what am I seeing here?
yeah,
And of course, if you're nervous and scared and kind of like, "Ugh," that's the last thing that happens. It kind of, we,
yeah,
we just don't stick around long enough to hold it, and because it feels like we've got to get away or we've got to change something, or there's all sorts of patterns we use to get out of that feeling. So as soon as you do that, you stop looking at it objectively. So you've got way more objectivity. Now, there's a relationship between that and be able to perceive direct guidance from things like ET, from Tom, from a whole other level, because it's the same thing. The intelligence behind what comes to you matches the intelligence with which, or the openness with which you can receive it.
yeah.
And it's always guidance, but
I
you know,
so when they say this, I don't even know what that means. What does we've
time.
had a timeline jump mean?
And the only way to know is to have the question, and that's this process. What does a timeline jump mean? That's a great question. When people say that timeline jump, um, think about it this way.
Hmm.
If you do therapy, traditional model therapy, where you talk it out, let's say, to deal with the problems that are really systemic within the family. If you use therapy to do that, you'll feel like you're dealing with it, you know, but the trajectory, the timeline, the trajectory, how long it takes, how efficient it is, blah, 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 it puts you along a trajectory through life. But when you do a constellation, the version of that, and you might get somewhere with it, and, who knows, you might end up changing because of that trajectory of, you might hit the wall and go, this isn't working, and change tacks, and then it becomes more efficient
But
and
was it
faster.
the therapy or was it your
Well,
own process, right? I'm not a
it's
therapy fan. I'm a psych major. I have a degree in psych and I'm not a therapy major, but continue.
Yeah, well, but I mean, as soon as let's say you come across family system constellation work and you do a constellation where you see the problem at a level that the therapy would have taken a decade plus to get to, even close to, even then you wouldn't be able to, because you wouldn't experience it full blown motion. Therapy is all mental. Often it's too mental.
Yeah.
You need to include the emotional and physical, because it has to be a direct experience. That's why it's so. Now that completely changes your trajectory through the same process. It's way shorter, way more efficient, and you're heading to a clearer direction of the truth of who you are and where you are.
Hmm.
So that's really why you can do the same thing. The human race is doing the same thing. That's why things like open contact keep accelerating. What would have what we were predicted to be ready for with open contact in a decade has been brought forward
Right.
simply because more people have gone with the shortest route,
Yep.
you know, and the shortest route is simply to give your free will back to your source.
Yep.
And that
Yep.
happens when you give up trying to figure it all out because you can't figure it all out anymore. You've got nothing left in the
Yep.
bag, you know?
Yep. Okay,
So
but how does that address, I don't know if we got off track or I got off track. How does that address timeline jumps, not knowing what that means?
Well, look, somewhere to go somewhere, sometimes to go somewhere properly, you've got to go a long way out of your way. So your mind will say, here's the problem. I want to go this way, figuratively speaking. I want to deal with it. I'm going to deal with it a certain way. Now, that's a direction. That's a form of direction. I'm going to go this way through the process. So you choose a destination or a path. But the reality of the problem can be very different to what you think it is, which means to actually deal with it instead of going that way, the way that makes sense to you at the time. The reality of the problem wants you to take a hard left and go that way, and for longer, any more. There's more undulation, and it's like all the think of Lord of the Rings. It can be very different to what you think. Um, it's the same result. Well, it's the same. It's a healing process, but it's more direct.
But what
It
does a
looks the opposite
timeline, but what does a timeline jump mean to humanity? If
trajectory.
people I know from different areas on the planet both tell me we had a timeline jump, what does that mean?
It's a higher version. It's a higher version of the life you were
Oh.
born to
So
live.
it's higher up in the distillation of the inverted timeline. What you and I
Yeah.
talked about after your coma was that there aren't there are distorted timelines, inverted timelines, and what is happening right now is a distillation down to the one true timeline.
Mhm. That's right. If you
Okay,
choose,
so a timeline jump means essentially progress.
mm, yeah. I mean, if you
Okay,
choose to go through a version which is full of superfluous, non-related layers, you've got to live through that to come back to the conclusion that none of that had anything to do with the problem. So that's a
right,
timeline. Now, you can wait until you have to go through the process to finally see the reality and then change, or you can do it before you start.
right.
So
It's how what you call or what we've called the choiceless choice, and when Tom said it's better for you if you choose it.
yeah,
You can
yeah.
do the superfluous, non-consequential
Version.
nonsense, or you can, right, and
Yeah.
avoid, but ultimately you cannot avoid. So
Yes.
why not go this way to begin with?
Yeah.
Okay.
And yeah, when you do that, you get a higher version of the result. But the truth of who we are and the life we were born to live, um, we can limit it with our mind, or we can let our mind just receive it. So
Yep.
you'll go through an evolutionary process of relating to what that actually means. How much of what I think is in the way of what I need to be doing, and how much of what I think is supporting it is a big part of learning to get out of your own way and to stop arguing with the very solution that you've been asking for. And that's what everyone's got to go through that because that's what the inversion is. We're moving through life in the opposite way. Our mind has to understand everything first. So, of course, we limit how fast and efficiently we move through the healing process by all our ideas about what it should and shouldn't look like, what
Yep.
the problem is and isn't. My dad shouldn't have been the way he was in this way. And the solution is to, quite often the injustice that we face as children, because it's not just what was done to us. It was not,
Yep.
we didn't deserve it and it wasn't right.
Yep.
It wasn't right though, because it wasn't true. So
Right.
if to right the wrong, You want to force, if you think justice looks like making them pay in some way,
No.
then of course you're making what wasn't true true.
True,
Now you've got to
right.
get a
You're
handle on now.
perpetuating the problem.
The more willing you are to not engage in that way of doing things, the faster you will move through it, the
Yeah.
more direct the timeline will be. But if you're not, you'll have to zigzag through all of this
Yep.
superfluous stuff to realize that wasn't anything to do with it.
Sure.
So that's
Sure.
why letting go
That's
of control
where
is so important.
letting go of control is so important. Having compassion is important. Faith is important. Like, that's why all of these things are so key in this whole thing. I mean, I was just having a conversation, I think it was this morning, a text in a text group I'm in, and just saying, release attachment to any of it, like,
Yeah.
because I think my friends saw my post with my son yesterday, and everyone lost their shit and they were so happy for me. And I'm like, I just visited him at his apartment, but I guess that was a lovely response from them. Like, they made it this big thing, and I guess maybe it was a big thing, right? Like, I'm forgetting the importance of these things. Um, but my friend said, yeah, I saw your post and it really made me want to try and figure this thing out with my daughter. And I'm like, well, oddly, I said, I'm anywhere I am with my son because I stopped trying to figure any of this shit out. Like, I stopped having attachment to how he should be with me. I mean, it's still a work in progress. I'm not perfect by any means.
Yeah.
I'm saying I'm allowing, I'm just allowing for all of it. However it presents itself is how it is supposed to present itself. And she was just like, well, how do you do that? I said, I have no idea. I can't. Like, it's along the lines of when you told me I would be grateful for these 7 years of suicidal hell, and I like, fuck you. What do you mean I'm going to be grateful for wanting to be dead for 7 years? But it's assisting me in speaking to other people who aren't where I am,
Exactly.
who,
Now think of it this way: the minute you that moment, because it was a moment, 1 minute you're Katie that you've always been, and then the next minute you're not. Right? That's an epiphany. As soon as you did that, you changed timelines. The trajectory your life was taking was, let's say, going off in this direction, and as soon as you did that, you
okay.
almost went the opposite way. Oof. So the human
Gareth,
race has
that's
been
an
doomed.
excellent analogy. That is an
That's
excellent
what.
analogy for a timeline jump. Thank you. I
Yeah.
have never understood what people say when they say that. Quite honestly, I don't know that they really understand it to that degree when they say it, right?
No.
Like, it's basically a leveling up. You're
Hmm.
leveling up. But when people from opposite ends of the planet reach out to me and tell me this has happened, this is an evolutionary time jump. This is a all-encompassing, the entirety of humanity made a timeline jump. So what you were just talking, giving the example of what that is, was my individual timeline jump
Version. Exactly. So it just
version.
scales up.
Yeah, the microcosm of what's happening.
So the moment
And
the human race hit critical mass to make the 100th monkey effect kicked in, the whole human race changed timelines. And that process has been
God,
shifting timelines ever since because it's been getting more and more precise, more and more clear. There are certain stages you go through in that, and how you meet each stage
yep.
can complicate or simplify the next stage.
And okay. That makes way more sense. I have an itch on my back. That makes way more sense than it ever has to me. It
Good.
so
Time and
it's so,
space.
so when I there's no good or bad. There's no bigger or lesser or ahead or behind. It's all relative. It's all the same ball of goo that we're all in together. But like I was just talking with my friend Cindy, whose awakening was a slow drip coffee over 15 to 20 years when mine was almost overnight. So my timeline jump back in 2021 feels like this big.
Yes. Well, there's a
Yeah.
relationship between the soul groups whose purpose was about um, bringing the human race into this transition process. So people, you know,
Are you
people
about to
who
tell me
came,
how great I am? Go on.
well, everybody involved, you see, so some people were brought in earlier in the pre before we reach critical mass.
You, my friend Lori, Cindy, Sam,
The,
our Sam. Yeah. Yeah.
the people within those born 57 to 77 had a key role. We all have a key role in this process of getting the timelines to uh,
Align.
well, yeah, align with the clearest, most direct path, the spiritual path. So this is the fifth dimension. What the influence of the fifth dimension on the other four. So when we talk about timeline, you're talking about time and space, a trajectory through space that is also about timing. So it's not just where you're going, what you're going through, but the timing itself of each part of the process. When you let go of control of both, um, the way Mary Bennett, who edited the second version of The Only Planet of Choice, which is the one to read, not the Gareth Jenkins one, read both. But Mary Bennett used to save everybody who connected with The Only Planet of Choice properly, like they're willing to say Tom is God. You're willing to let the controlled narrative play second fiddle at that level. When you're willing to let the controlled narrative play second fiddle at that level, your relationship to your source, to let it be what it is instead of what your mind tells you, you've gone straight to 0 point. Because that's the problem. Who are we really? Fifth dimension, five dimensional. Spirit is the fifth dimension. That's our heart connection to the universe. That's the flow of information, the information field directly between us and the reality of the living moment we're in right now. So when you go straight to 0 point, you're willing to let that exist as the exact counterpoint, destructive force, if you like, the light that can't let darkness exist, that the control narrative cannot cooperate anymore. You can't operate within the control narrative properly. Well, Mary used to say everybody that did that, whether they knew it or not, we're all on Tom time now. So timing of the four physical dimensions of space and time is the timeline, the trajectory that you move through. But it's all about giving the timing of everything, the form and timing to God. So straight away you're at 0 point. And you're letting everything above the moment you first got pulled out of your heart connection into your mind when you were three and reinforced over time. You've brought that moment. Now, that moment is the system constellation force, the entire system of your entire belief system, mode of being, and everything you came from, your family, blah, 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 has to constellate around that 0 point now. So, all the information required to get everybody there is what's coming. And that information is directly designed perfectly to unlock each layer, each nodal point. It unlocks each one and releases the next level and the next level. Now, when you do a family system constellation, for instance, the system will only go as deep as the willingness you have to do that. So again, timelines. If you've got a limit, a block where you can't forgive your father, something in you would rather be right about being wronged than free of the wrong.
And free.
Now, the
Yep.
system can't go past that point because that's your block. Life will keep on, you'll keep coming up against the solution at that
Yep.
point because you can't let go of the need to right the wrong. But of course, it's your idea about what the wrong is and how to right the wrong that's getting in the way. That's the filter, the lens. It's the whole point of the controlled narrative is to put that in front of us. So again, it all gets back to the willingness to let go of control to the truth. It doesn't mean you've got to walk out on your family and friends and go and be a hobo and live on
Right,
the rail tracks and la-di-da. That's not what letting go of control means. So
right.
people get confused. It means
Yeah,
letting go of control, letting all your definitions of reality be flawed. Some, which one's the truth?
right,
So
right.
your
That's my
healing
favorite.
trajectory will match it, that
Your
willingness.
your what trajectory? Hidden
Your healing trajectory through the
healing.
transition, coming back to the truth of who we all are, will match your willingness to let go to that truth.
Yes, 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 yes,
So that's
yes.
timelines. So the human race has been going through a series of epiphanies because enough people within the human race are doing exactly what I've described.
Yep.
So the relationship between what I've gone through, for instance, and what this person, it's like you get taken through epiphany after epiphany in a very controlled process over a long period of time. Because for me, it started in '93. Well, it's been all my life, but because of the fifth dimensional, the clear sight thing. But '93 was that pivot point. So since then, it's been going through lots of stages. But that prepared the ground for you so that when you we went to another level.
Right.
So that's the purpose of your soul group to connect with us. The layer that you're at is to be able to connect with 0 point. So what you did when you hit the wall is you basically let in the moment where you left yourself to be, you went all the way to that moment in a sense.
Yep. I didn't
So
know
you
it. Right.
no, but
Right.
you've been sitting right at the doorway between the moment you left yourself and everything that happened after it the whole time. That moment, that single moment between the truth of who you are and the distortion you have to be to belong in this world, the Katie, the personality, the false persona, that moment is what's running the healing process, not the layers above it. Now that's intense. So you've felt everywhere you look, all you can see is black.
Black.
Because of that, that lens is the
Huge.
most, that deepest, oldest core foundation of the distortion, the inversion of self in you is what's running everything. But this is what I mean about timeline. You've actually, it looks worse, but you've gone to the quickest and most efficient trajectory to be free of it.
Yeah.
Now, there's a relationship between my version of getting there and yours. So now
Sure.
together we connect and poof, there are people all around the world who have been doing the same thing. In fact, Dr. Massey went through the precise same process. It's how he got to where he got. I've gone through the same process. So has my wife. There are many people in that soul group that we're part of. In his soul group, he may well be part of this this group that the Magdalene and James created, having this sort of genetic profile, which is very important. Who knows? I mean, there's a lot of think about they had 3 children 2,000 years ago. How many people have the same genetics now?
Right.
That
It's
was
a
the
lot
whole
of
point.
people.
A
Yeah.
lot of people. Now,
Yeah.
some of them have gone with it. Some of them have struggled with it. But it was this. That's you didn't need everybody to go. That's the scattergun approach. All you
Right.
needed was a small amount, and that, of course, triggered you and all the people at your stage of this unraveling of the human condition. It's your life purpose. And you're going through a process from here on in of becoming conscious of it, which is why I said you'll look back on this period and gratitude will dissolve pain this last 7 years because it's why you started to click. Two and two starts coming together, and that's the freedom, the light that expels the darkness, the ignorance. What the fuck? Why do I feel this way? It's a
Right.
lack of awareness, essentially. What's running the problem? What's creating the problem? I'm not aware of the problem. So now the epiphanies can come. You can start connecting the dots, and those, it's important to name it, the names of these stuff will start to show itself. And at each one that does, it frees you of ignorance. The space of
Right.
darkness can't exist because there's awareness now. So that's why Ramana said, you can't let it go. All you can do is be willing to see it, it will let you go. So it's a giant
Yeah.
family system constellation workshop the human race is living through right now.
Yep.
And the ET connection between a lot of people have around the world is a big, that's what they're helping us through. A family system constellation workshop. You listen to Dr. Massey talk about how he finds the name of the particular layer that the person's at and the impact that has. Someone with asthma, for instance, he described it as being this, the family has
Oh,
a
yes.
has a trauma within it that makes that child feel like they need to be in two places at once. So you can treat this
Oh,
as again the timeline thing. You can treat the asthma from a allopathic
perfect.
point of view,
Point of view, perspective, right?
looking at just the symptom and never get
Mhm.
anywhere.
Which is what
Or
everyone's been
which
programmed
is
to
what
do.
exactly that's the whole point of the medical system is to keep us stuck at the symptoms of the problem
Yes,
without actually
yes.
going there. And of
To the
course, you just make it
core.
worse, worse and
Right.
worse and worse. Because the drugs do the blah blah
Perpetuates,
blah.
gets worse. The drugs make the next
See,
flare up even worse, and it
yeah.
just goes and goes and goes.
Or you can go, that doesn't work. What's really going on? Go through what Bert Hellinger went through. Same thing Dr. Massey went through to come up with system constellation work in the first place.
Yeah,
The Zulu
yeah,
lived a life post Atlantis to hold the information field in a code so that when the right person was at the right point, they could unlock that code in the form it needed to be unlocked in at this point to deal with
yeah,
the problem. It's all been done, the whole process from start to finish has been all engineered to defeat this group. So, of course, Hellinger goes through his life purpose not conscious of it at that level, but he's living it anyway. He connects with the Zulu, unlocks that, brings it into a form that meets and matches the human race hitting this point in history, this trajectory of the timeline of waking up, coming back to full five-dimensional awareness, which the deep state can't exist in, full stop. And knock-on effect, Massey, us, and that scenario all around the world in so many different theatres. It's all coming together. And as this happens, the human race as a collective gets more and more direct. It gets stops dealing with asthma and starts dealing with the family system imbalance.
right, right.
What's the problem?
Go on.
First law of problem solving. Know what the problem is.
Yeah,
If you're not
well,
solving the problem, it's because you don't know what it is.
is that what Melissa Kupch, who's the founder of Remedy Homeopathics in Australia, who Alec has had on numerous times, is that what she calls a miasm?
Hmm.
Is
Similar, yeah. Homeopathy is the same process.
there's homeopathy is just coming into my field like crazy with this telepathy and animal communications, dite.
Yes.
I hope I'm not saying that wrong. But so many of the answers to people's questions were homeopathy and communicating with your animals and loving them. Like love cures everything. But then homeopathy was it's love and homeopathy is what
Yeah.
everything
Yes.
it boils down to. That's
Yeah.
what I'm hearing in
That,
everything.
Yeah, because the think of a homeopathic dose as it triggers a healing reaction because it brings in um, a counter force to the pathogen. So
Yeah.
the Nazarene himself, who's when I spoke with Tom and the people around the nine, who were responsible for creating the book, The Only Planet of Choice, they were the ones who anyone who criticizes The Only Planet of Choice, by the way, just consider this. It was compiled from audio recordings from 1951 to 1991 that were conducted all around the world by some extremely serious people. We're talking high level politicians, high level, everybody was, Kennedy and Khrushchev were talking to Tom during the Cuban Missile Crisis. Gene Roddenberry was speaking to Tom about all of the ET civilizations, the reality of them, and their relationship to us over decade, over that's where Star Trek came from.
Yep.
The deep state tried to discredit him, and there's
Yep.
videos of that, and that's what that's about. So if you've ever come across that, and if you've heard of it, you know what I'm talking about. Well, that
Yep.
was done to
So
stop him.
gross.
You say this live on camera, or we'll kill your nieces. That's
Right.
what they do, right? So you
Yep.
can get that out of the picture. Anyway, if the only planet of choice was put together as a kind of it's all made up,
Right.
then that's a lot of work over a long period of time by a lot of people to achieve what, right? So just take that conclusion and look at it that way and go, hang on a minute.
Prepare to be wrong.
Am I
Just,
thinking that just because I don't want to go there? Really, now, what's the motivation behind categorizing something that way? It's because if you let it in, you'll have to go, this is subconscious, you'll have to go to 0 point. And everything in your persona is about avoiding that. So a lot of
yeah.
people in the spiritual communities who are running the big groups are dealing with this problem. In
No,
order, they
yeah.
have to live it,
They don't
right? So
want to
let,
go where I've gone. They don't want to go where I've gone. But that's why
yes.
people can resonate with what I say because
Yeah, because you're living it. Yeah,
they're
it's
in it.
direct. Now
It's
there's a whole
direct.
layer
You
about
can
to come
feel
up.
it. Yeah.
There's a whole because there are a whole lot of people who are able to hear what I just said properly,
Yeah.
way more than has ever existed on the human race before, which means there's a new need to communicate the question answer communication. There needs to be a whole other level group of people, and that's what's about to happen. A whole lot of people who aren't really living it will be brought down to street level, so they'll have
Yeah.
to because they've taken it on. They've taken on this, so that's good. It's a good thing. It doesn't matter, there's
Sure.
no mistakes. It's a good thing. And then to fill that gap will be people who have lived through processes like Dr. Massey.
Yeah.
So they know what they're talking about because they went through, why the hell am I doing this? And oh my God, I'm out of my comfort zone. And you want me to run a constellation group with this person who's got a real problem. And I don't know what I'm doing, but okay, I'll try this. And
And
by
like,
association, you get what they have. But
yeah.
just getting back to the homeopathy thing,
Yes.
he learned over time through direct experience, and he refined the energy, he refined his own experience.
Are we
Now,
talking the Nazarene?
we're talking Dr. Massey, and well, I'm using that as an example of how he
Okay.
moved through this process of becoming
Got
an
it.
expert that's able to speak to these people from direct experience because you've lived it yourself.
Yeah.
There's an authenticity behind that the person listening to you registers.
You can
Because
feel
the
it.
important thing is that, well, like I say, there are a lot of people ready to hear it now that weren't before. There are
Yeah.
a lot of people who are ready to actually have open contact because the intensity of the transformation that represents won't blow them up, won't blow them out the way it would
Sure.
have, because they're at a point where there's less to blow out. They're not invested as much.
No,
That's
right.
that's why the
They have
timeline is
more out of the way.
there's more out of the way, so there's less like almost less loss involved in there. That's why it's had to be managed so carefully because the reaction, if you push people too far, they'll push it all away because they're not willing to go there. Hence the example with the only planet of choice. A lot of people do that with Byron Katie's work, for instance, victim perpetrator. Um, but with homeopathy, the Nazarene, it was described to me that when he allowed himself to be executed, for instance, he took a concentrated homeopathic dose of the truth of who we are into our collective consciousness, the human race as a whole. That triggered a healing reaction because the deep state invited, remember, the way it works with them, their plan, because free will is the golden law of the universe. We have to invite their system in, slavery in, for it to be able to function. If we invite it in, no one can stop that. We made the choice. We have to experience it. So that's what the whole psyop is about, tricking us into going, yeah, come on in, we'll be slaves. Who would do that in their right mind? You have to be so caught up in rubbish in a story that you think is true and rejecting the truth that would destroy that story. You have to be so caught up in that you can't see the truth of the forest for the trees. A lot of people have been in that situation, most of the human race for thousands of years, actually.
Yeah.
So that's changed a lot. Well, a big part of that is because of this healing reaction the Nazarene set up, combined with soul groups that were brought in. So family systems, genetic lines that were capable of allowing certain soul groups to incarnate through those light space vehicles, this body mind. That had to happen because a light space vehicle with the right capacity to go all the way to the core within that family system required certain things. Now, when the deep state invited this plan in, this level in by executing the Nazarene, they
That was their undoing.
they invited in their own nemesis.
Their own nemesis. Now, when you
They gave
say
permission to it.
Right. They gave
And as soon
permission
as they
to it.
did that, they were locked. They could not
Done.
escape.
Even if it did take 3,000
Yeah.
years,
It's win or die.
2,000 years. Yeah. So when you say soul groups that were brought in, and when you say light space vehicle, a
Yes.
light space vehicle isn't always our body, is it?
Yeah. Body mind is a
It's
light space vehicle.
always body mind. Okay,
Everything
always.
in the physical is a light space vehicle for a theater of experience, for the all it is to experience itself through. So the planet, the star, the solar system, but the self-aware life that's tuned to that frequency is what makes it
Frequency.
real. It's the two together. We
Okay.
created you and you created us. So
Yeah, I've always wondered what is the we and what is the you? What is the we slash us and what is the you? So when God says we created you, who is we?
well, the all that is.
Right.
Think
But
of it this way.
referring to it as a we because there's a council of nine, there's like all
It,
these. Yeah.
yeah, the thought eye is a single thing, but everything
Is
the thought eye is aware of is you can't pin it down to a single thing.
okay.
It's the all that is. Everything
So
that is comes from an infinite field of conscious energy.
so we created you, and the you is
Yeah.
self-aware life.
Well, that's it. As soon as there was something to be aware, someone to be aware of the all that
Right.
is can exist
Can exist.
in the
So
physical.
we, the all that is, created you, self-aware life, and you created us because you're self-aware life who has awareness of the creator. And for that, we love you.
Yes. Do we love
It's,
life as it is?
do we love life as it is?
And that's why body mind is a receiver, not a transmitter of conditioning. And that's why the world is an inversion. We take on a belief system about everything that isn't true and we transmit it everywhere because we have an emotional investment in that definition to avoid fear. And we
We're
create
so
the thing we're afraid of by
retarded.
doing that.
We
So
create
to
what?
undo that, we create the very thing we're afraid of by believing it's
By
true.
doing that. We're
Yeah.
totally
That's the world
retarded.
we live in. So we're the ones who created it by doing that. That's why each individual has been brought back to the moment they left themselves, fear and self-doubt within your own life. Best thing you can do to transform the world is to just stay there. Just, I am going through my own transformation process of going back, leaving the lie of this person who's fundamentally flawed and bad and wrong, whatever your version of that story is, and your relationship to everyone around you and who did it to you and how you're going to balance that out. And it's that person over there and
Yeah.
all, but all of the crap that comes out of that false idea that you aren't right as you are.
It's
And you're
so
afraid that you can't
ridiculous.
get there, what's there. And now well, I need to
Life.
know what there is. So straight away, the mind control system can start defining everything for you. And you grow up assuming that you've got to learn what there and that and the right way is through
Mm.
education and the story just gets passed around and amplified. So that's what's being removed from our field, the false story of who humans are. Tom, God, you
Mm.
insist you have a human nature. The whole story is wrong, but we're so invested in it. We need it. We really need it to protect ourselves from what really is, what is it that we're really protecting ourselves from? The irony is love. We're protecting
We're
ourselves from
protecting
love.
ourselves from the
The
only thing that
reality,
is.
we created you, the I, the thought I. Now I am aware of that which I came from. I There has to be an I first to be aware of everything it's separate from.
Yeah.
But it's an illusion. We created the illusion that there is a you, and from that illusion, there was something that you can relate to, which is everything around you. So we created the universe, co-creators, made in the image and likeness of God. We co-created the universe to experience everything that we are. Oh, there I am, there I am, there I am. That's love. the love of the truth of who we are keeps on reinforcing itself, and our minds expand and name the truth of who we are and bigger and bigger until the entire universe comes back to one. That's the only thing it's about. And then those the interference want to keep the eye separate. And they need self-aware life to believe that that's who we are. And there's all sorts of strategies involved to lock us into that thought eye in relationship to pain and suffering.
Sure. What's your, I don't know, perspective, estimation? What are your thoughts on higher self? What is the higher self?
Well, in our instance, it's the truth of who we are. Our
Yeah,
mind, our sense of our identity can't hold it. We've way our idea of who we are is way smaller than the truth of who we are. So that definition limits our consciousness. So the rest of us can't be destroyed. Sum total
yeah.
energy of the universe is always the same. It can never be destroyed, but the form is constantly moving. So it's not the form that's important, it's the energy. The energy is permanent. It's all soul. It's all one. So there's no problem with change at all. Fear
Mm.
makes, if you're afraid of change, it's because you're afraid of yourself. You're afraid of life. You're afraid you're not up to it. That's just self-doubt running you.
Do
So
you,
sometimes change will destroy your life so that you can get comfortable with the fact that it was never a
it
problem.
was never a problem at all anyway. Do you foster a relationship with your higher self? Do you talk to your higher self all day long?
Well, I've been going through, this is the importance of satsang, true north. So it's not about, yeah, you got to be careful of this higher self thing because it isn't true that you're separate. So the human
Right.
race is basically coming back to a position where you are your highest. It's what happens to me when I go into clear sight mode since childhood. That's essentially what happens. My attention gets pulled up into the full truth of who I am, full
Yeah.
5D for a
Yeah.
period of time. And I'm in that mode. I perceive what's going on around me in that expanded form, and then I come back to
I'm
where
back
I'm
to,
where my mind is at
yeah,
the point
that,
that point.
yeah, that's,
But that's true of everyone. So you aren't
it,
separate from the higher self.
no, no, no. That's kind of a good example. A lot of people have tried to, figure out why my mornings can feel so sad, why the mornings are such a challenge. They're like the darkest part of my day, which is so sad because I know mornings are wonderful and I wake up at 6, so I might as well enjoy it, but I haven't, right, yet, as of yet. But a lot of people say it's because my body was in the truth of who I am, and then whoof comes back in to wake up to this. Not that this is so bad, but you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
I know.
it's like my suicidal ideation all of these years was like a homesickness for what my awakening brought me an awareness of at a different level than many people. Not all people, but many people. I have some sort of higher perspective of what this is supposed to be. And I have a homesickness that is the human nature Katie wants out, right? And
Yeah.
so the morning Katie, human nature Katie, morning Katie is dark and sad. What do you think about
Right. Well,
that?
yeah, I understand what they're saying and there's truth to that, yes, but there's a deeper perspective, right? So what happens when you go to sleep is your mind leaves. Basically, you're in the astral. The astral
Right.
plane is fifth dimension.
All right.
It's the fifth dimension, the astral plane, fifth dimension, spirit, pure consciousness, that which animates form, etc. It's all the same thing. That's why space and time don't, they're not the same. The four physical dimensions that create space and time come after the fifth dimension. Consciousness is pure consciousness. You can't define it. Telepathy, astral projection, the way ETs operate, because they're not stuck in this physical density of the mind that we are. Which is what's changing. So what happens when you go to sleep as you first wake up, you're free of the mind. So you're at the 0 point. You're conscious of the moment you left yourself. That's what you're waking up to. Now, the
Yeah.
feeling isn't yours. It's within the system. That's
Yeah.
one of the clues when it's that pervasive. So you've been dealing with this your whole life. So when you hit the wall, you actually went. You gave up everything that you were managing this feeling. It all collapsed in one go. But the feeling, so you've been wrestling with the nature of it. You can't get to where you want to go without going through that feeling because the
Yeah.
truth of who you are, the higher self, is on the other side of it. It's a
Yeah.
barrier, but it was put there, superimposed on your life through the system. You took something on within the family system because there's, in my estimation, there's a disconnect to the flow of love. So there's a lot of withholding of love within the family, which is
Yeah.
a knock-on effect of something happened within the family system. It's probably, and then it gets acted out different levels within the family. So
Yeah.
your life purpose, everyone born 57 to 77, like I said, this Gen X thing, X marks the spot. There's something about us that won't let it get away with it. We can't just go through it like all the previous generations have. And again, that gets back to the healing dose the Nazarene put into the collective consciousness, homeopathic dose, and the light space vehicle, the capacity for there to be a light space vehicle that can relate to this problem that way, the way the Arcturians described it, what they gave permission to, those are the interference when they executed the Nazarene, and he let it happen. He invited them in.
Yeah.
Come, absolutely, let's go. Um, they gave permission to a light space vehicle that could have an indelible soul purpose. So a connection to the 5D that couldn't be completely erased from our consciousness. That's why we have this imperative to a lot of people in this generation have a hard time with this world because we can't be comfortable in it. And that's very necessary. That's a big part of it.
Yeah.
So yeah, you took on a burden that wasn't yours in order to serve the family, which is to compensate for a love deficit.
So, and
And
the story isn't unique to my family. It's not unique to my family.
it's just universal to everyone.
Yep.
It's a love
Yep.
deficit. We're all holding a love deficit. You can't doubt yourself and fear life and be fully open to love
No.
because you and life are love. So
Yeah.
if you have an idea that you're not, then of course you experience that, this love
Right.
deficit. And we relate
Yeah.
to everything and everyone through this love deficit. We're trying to resolve a love
We're
deficit.
trying. Yeah.
And all
We're
we
trying.
do is attract what reinforces it. So the
Yeah.
same old partner, the same old
Yeah.
situations until we go, hang on a minute.
Yeah.
What is this
Until
problem
we
really?
go, hang on a minute. Right. And that's what we're all doing now.
Which gets
We're
back to this soul group.
harmonizing.
This
Yeah.
soul group has that question too close to the surface. It's too written into our life purpose to ignore. It will assert itself
I
through
wish I
this.
understood soul groups better. I don't
Well, it's
understand
just
who brought them in, what brought them in, how'd they come
well,
in, what's going on.
I mean, I don't want to use the military as an example, but let's say it's organized into people with certain skill sets
Okay.
to do a job. So so they all
Okay.
interconnect to form a counter force, let's say.
That's actually a very, very helpful explanation. So when you see the memes of the level of darkness you can feel and the length and the depth of despair, means your soul purpose is grander than others. There's no better or for worse. It all serves the highest. It's all right, but yours carries a weight not everyone's does.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it depends what
Okay.
your specific. I mean, some people are in the Air Force. Within the Air Force, some people are pilots, some people are navigators, some people are
Yes,
in the Army.
okay.
They're on the ground.
That's
Some,
very helpful.
yeah, we all have different roles to play in dismantling the octopi that binds, which is the system around the world that the slavery system. That was the way God described it. He called it the octopi that binds, the inversion of civilization.
It's
And
funny, the
so
ones,
dismantling that system, it requires people with different expertise in different areas
yes.
to, yeah. But
Well,
essentially,
I'm
we're all doing
just
the same thing.
essentially we're all doing the same thing, but try and tell that to the ones, the Ann, the Sam, the Sonias, the Donnas, the Janelles, who are the Mikes, who are in hell. Try and tell them we're all trying doing the same thing.
I know. Yeah,
Like
it's
their
hard.
sole purpose is I know
Yeah,
they would giggle,
yeah.
but wow.
But you know, when you hit the wall to that degree, you've essentially jumped off the cliff to find out
Right.
that you can fly.
Right,
So
right,
for a
right.
long time, you're just falling.
And at that point, you don't really give a shit whose purpose is greater than anyone else's. It's exactly what you've told me about what's coming for humanity. At the moment you get the validation you've been wanting for 7 years is
Don't
the
care
same
about it.
moment you don't care.
And that's why it happens.
What the fuck?
It's when you don't care about it that it happens.
Right? But and the Katie, the human nature Katie is thinking, well, I do. I kind of want to say I told you so. If
Yeah,
not,
that's
if
right.
only to myself, I want to say,
Because of the
see, I
injustice.
was right. See?
Yeah, that's right. But you know, and you can't. It's not an act of will. I don't care anymore. No, you know, I don't care about because if there's a part of
You
you that
can't
does,
think that,
you're
right?
trying to will it away, and it
You're
doesn't
trying to
work.
will it away. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
you have to
Pete,
directly experience that it wasn't true. It wasn't what you thought. That's a
no,
whole other thing. You
no,
don't care.
Pete,
Like Ramanar said, it lets you go. You know, it lets you go. It's hard to swallow. It feels like you got to swallow a bitter pill called "I'll let them get away with it."
right. But
But
not
that's part of the
really.
deep state mind
That's
control.
part of the
It's what
deep state
justifies
mind
war.
control. It's all love. So
Yeah.
as soon as you just, that's why so many times I'm saying, you know, however they treated us, like there's a they and an us, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
However they treated us, however they abandoned or abused or harassed or, mocked, at the moment that they catch up, we're going to just be here. Let me hold your hand through this. I love you.
Yeah.
Welcome. We've been waiting.
That's it. They'll have the humility to realize they don't know, and that's all you're waiting for. But just
Yeah.
the thing is, the way they treated us in our mind, we took it on and treated ourselves that way, and
That
then we
way.
treated other people that way. So what
No, I
what they
didn't.
went through that got them to the point where they were treating us that way, our parents' generation, let's say, they went through the same process. And we know what that is through direct experience. Oh,
Right.
that's the whole why. That's exactly why these four pillars of the transition exist. That's what, interestingly, Sat's saying, getting clear about the truth of who you are is untouched by any of it, is the whole point. Having a direct experience in your living experience that none of that was true. That's Sat saying, that's the importance of Ramana Maharshi. That's true north. Get clear about who you are and everything else follows. Who are you
Yep.
really? And to do that, you need to ask the question, who am I being right now? And the way I'm treating my parents, or the way I'm reacting to this situation,
Yep.
I'm trying to avoid blah, 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 am I coming from the truth of who I am, or am I coming from the false, this idea that's just making the problem worse? And you're
Yep.
not going to get an answer. But that's the right question. What's the truth? That's that saying. That's true north. South is family system constellation work, the trauma we carry that generates this generation after generation. Now, when you use Byron Katie's method to look at when you argue with what is, you suffer.
Right.
What is our definition first. That person did the wrong thing by me, and we can't get past it.
Right.
But when Tom said, how do we solve the problem? Add a fifth element, spirituality. It's all one, it's all love.
So,
There are ramifications of that. It's not what I think. This thing between me and my parents isn't what I think. The pain they cause me.
yeah.
When you look at use the Byron Katie method to see how you're relating to life and yourself, you come to the inevitable conclusion that you're a victim and a perpetrator.
Yeah.
So now when you look at your parents, you see through the distortion it created to the truth of who they are. You have empathy for it because you
Oh,
understand
yeah.
how they got there, because you did in your own way. Maybe different to them, not as
Sure.
intense, not as extreme. It can look very different. There's an art to doing this. But the thing is, when you argue with the impact or the symptoms of being pulled out of yourself, you'll never get past it back to the truth. It's
Mm,
not like you're saying that it's okay that they behaved that way, that they weren't wrong, that it was that's how people should be. That's not what you're saying.
mm,
You're accepting it as it is
yeah.
because you know that there's a story behind it that you can't quite see yet. So you got to start by going, this is here for a reason. It's there. The symptom is there to show me the problem, to lead me to the problem. So the only way to get to the truth of what is, which none of that is real, it's all love,
Yep.
is to accept what it isn't as if it was what it is, because it is right now. The truth is, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what a
Yeah.
lot of people miss with Byron Katie work. But that's the key. We'll finally be able to see and hear each other. Oh my God,
Yeah.
you're the same as me.
Yeah.
We all went through the same thing. I know what it feels like. Don't worry, it's okay. You don't need to
Yes.
validate, you know, they own what they did was wrong for
That's
themselves, not for us.
right. Well,
Yeah.
that's why I look at etiquette as a psyop, as a deep state thing. Etiquette and apologies. Like when you're aligned and we're all aligned, there's no need for apologies.
Yeah.
You have, like, when you know your own mind, you know all minds. You
Yes.
know that that person didn't intend to be late, which isn't
No.
even a thing. There's no such thing. That's that, like, that at such a grand scale, this whole thing is being undone.
Hmm.
And when you see it in the physical, while everyone else is not everyone, but not aware of it, that's why it gets very painful to live in this life. That's why
Yeah.
it
There
gets
are.
really pain when you see through the core. But
Hmm.
it's also the same time you should be able to live in anything comfortably. It's ironic. It's all ironic. It's all ironic.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. You're at peace with what is,
Right.
and you see the purpose behind it. Like it's the difference between Dr. Massey looking at the symptomology of the trauma within the family system and how it's playing out with each person. So it starts with the person that comes to him. Um, it's not gratuitous pain and suffering. It's the ramifications of the real problem showing themselves. It's like, hey, over here, there's a problem. So when you see it that way, you're not trying to get rid of the symptom because it's hurting you. You're reading it as a code, as a message. It's got something to tell
The
you. What is
code.
it? It's
Yep.
telling you something. A truth, there's a truth to its point of origin. It's our unawareness, lack of awareness of the point of origin of the symptom that's creating the symptom.
Yep.
And it's why it follows us around. So,
Yep.
asthma is a symptom, but so is relationship patterns that don't serve us. We get, we've gone through 3 marriages and they all end up the same way. Each time we tell ourselves it's different. Why?
Right.
Because
Sorry.
we're only dealing with it at a symptom level. We're not looking at the core.
No.
So having the tools to do that, having the ability, once you got the question, well, what method can I use to kind of get out from underneath this? And that's really what the 4 pillars of the transition are about. Getting
Right.
clear on what I'm really thinking, why I'm thinking it, where's it coming from? Is it
Where's it
true?
coming from? Is it true? Yeah.
And you've got to be willing to question everything at a deepest level. And again, the
Right.
family system, the ability for a family system, the field of information to open up and lead you to its core is directly proportionate to your willingness to let go,
Yeah.
to feel the pain, to feel the pain you've been running from. So
Right.
when you argue with what is, you feel the pain you've been running. When you stop arguing with what is, you feel the pain you're running from first.
Yep.
Because you've got to be held in that to realize what it really is. It isn't what you
Mm-hmm.
thought.
Mm-mm.
We feel it because we thought it was real. We
Right.
thought it was true. It was never. Our family system constellation is about giving back what's not yours.
Yeah.
And in order to do that, you'll speak. So your father in the constellation who caused you pain, it's coming. You'll see the reason where what it really came from. I give this back to you.
Yeah.
This is not mine. And then he will say something to you to acknowledge it. So he'll speak the words that you've been. It's accountability. There has to be accountability. We've got to
Yeah.
take account, full account, like a stock take. You're taking stock of what the reality is now.
Mm-hmm.
What's really here.
Hmm.
And that has to be acknowledged verbally within the system. As soon as you hear your father say the words that meet the need, it evaporates.
Yep. It's very magical.
It is, it is.
It really is.
So there is a role for the people in your life who have caused you wrong within your family, let's say the point of
Sure.
origin in your family, to acknowledge that wrong. But
Yep.
it only happens when when you acknowledge that uh, where they were coming from was understandable.
Sure. Sure. That's the compassion part. That's
Yeah,
the compassion part. Yeah.
that's right.
Yep.
And you can see in your own relationship with your children,
Yeah.
uh, what responsibility do we have for allowing what we took on from our parents to influence our relationship to our children?
I wanted to see if that'll show up on the upload. I'm sorry, I'm getting so sleepy. I don't know why.
Good time. Oh, that might be enough. It's a lot.
Okay. All right. I'll
Hopefully
stop.
that was simple enough to get the points across.
Yeah, I think it was excellent. I had a whole lot of new understanding around things, really. And if I've been
Great.
talking to you for 4 years at the rate I have been, and I'm getting epiphanies, I'm pretty sure everyone's going to get some epiphanies. So
Good.
I'll stop the recording and we'll keep talking for a minute. So, all
Yeah.
right. Love you,
Love
everybody.
you. Thank you.
And then she doesn't do it. Okay.